So welcome to these few minutes of meditation time that we have together. I would invite you, just as I invite myself, just to settle in, just to physically become comfortable. Whatever way you have found your spot to be configured, just rest there. Let the body find comfort. And then as the body finds comfort, you'll notice that the emotions and the mind and the energy begin to find ease as well. But it starts with our physical being. So just settle. Make adjustments as you need to adjust. And then see if you can find a little stillness as you do. And you can close your eyes, you can cast them down, you can soften your gaze, just whatever feels right to try to let go of some of these distractions that tend to creep in and ask for our attention. And then begin to notice that breath. Just pause here and notice it, feel it, witness it. And if the breath, as you notice it, feels right, and it feels like it's nurturing and it's like something that will keep you here in this present moment, then just keep breathing exactly that way. But if you notice that maybe there's a little anxiousness in your chest, or maybe you feel a little sluggish, then begin to find the breath to help you be present. Sometimes the breath helps us to be a little more vibrant, a little more focused. Sometimes the breath slows us down. But I would ask each of us just to choose a breath that honors what we need. Based on our day, based on the moments just before we settled together, you choose. Choose in response to knowing what you need. And for these few minutes that we're going to share together, just basking in the beauty of this present moment. We've been on this journey looking at these teachings of yoga. We've walked through the yamas, these moral precepts, these ways of being in the world. And over the last few days, we've walked through the niyamas, these behaviors that we do toward ourselves. And so today, we're going to look at this idea of Svadhyaya, the Sanskrit word that just means self-study. Studying myself, knowing myself at such a deep, pure, intimate level that when things come along my path during my day, when it's busy and it's noisy and it's chaotic, there's just certain things I wouldn't imagine letting into my energy, letting into my focus, because I've gotten to know myself so well that I want to protect this person, this essence of who I am. I don't want to let the world decide where my focus goes. I'll choose. I'll know myself and I'll choose well for me the same way that I asked you just moments ago to choose the kind of breath that you need. So how do we do this? How do we embark upon this self-study? There's no more beautiful way than meditation. We sit with ourselves. We find our way to the spot. We let the distractions go, and then it's just us. We do it collectively, which is the beauty across this globe that we can do that. But at the core, we do it with ourselves. And so before we walk along this journey of Svadhyaya for these few minutes that we have, what I'd invite us to do just for the next few breaths is study yourself. Notice how you are today. What does your energy feel like? What's the heaviness or the lightness in your heart, in your emotions? What are the things that are taking up space in your head and in your thoughts? Just study them, witness them, see them as they are. Sometimes this is the hardest part of meditation, the being with us. I think sometimes people show up for meditation trying to escape from something. But what this practice asks us to do is to be with us, to be with this divine light that's within us, this beautiful uniqueness of who we each are. Just hang out, embrace, and be. There's a quote by yoga teacher Donna Farhi, and she says, when people ask about meditation, I always used to say it's like being locked in a closet. And there's a crazy person in this closet, and they're screaming, and it never stops. And then you realize that person is me. And so you kind of smile as you picture that, because we've all had those moments in meditation where it would just be easier if I could do it with someone else, right? But what if we, through this study, could really embrace being with ourselves? Being so okay with this person of who we are that we could just sit and be, and sit and be a little longer. But this practice that the ancient teachings give us, this practice of Svadhyaya, it doesn't ask us just to sit and to check out. It asks us to tune in, to study. Same way you remember being in school and you were preparing for an exam or a presentation or something that people were measuring you on. You prepared, right? You studied. Well, there's no greater thing to study than us. To really understand where our heartbreak is, where our joy center is. What are the things that burden us? What are the things that cause us frustration? What are we looking forward to? What are we concerned about? And what do we want to know more of? Just coming into this relationship with ourselves with this curiosity, this desire to know. And so for our time together, and then again our time the next time we join, we're going to sit with this idea. And we're going to really learn what it means just to be with us. And so what I'd like us to do for these few minutes that we've got is just imagine that your life is just this series of events, which you know that it is. But just see these series like these strings that just run within you. They all have a stopping point and a starting point. And these events have happened for years and years. Some we like to remember, some we prefer to forget. But just imagine within you this web of all these strings just hanging. And you sit here and you just start to notice the story of you. And along one string, you notice there's a knot. And that knot signifies something. Maybe it signifies when you met that really special person in your life, and so a knot was made in that string. You want to remember it. And then on another string, there's this pause, this knot where you learned something new. You tested yourself, you pushed yourself, and you did it. And now there's this little knot in your string. And then down another string, there was pain. And there's a memory there that causes a feeling inside of you. There's sorrow. There's heartbreak. But again, there's a knot signifying that that moment had meaning in your life. And so what I would encourage us to do just across these next few breaths is just see your story. not as a series of events that has one beginning and then eventually it will all end, but rather see all these things that have happened to you through the course of time and where you chose to place a little knot in that string. What events had meaning? What events need to be remembered? What events were lessons that we don't want to forget? Which little knots represent people and places you've been? What knots represent accomplishments and failures? But these moments that just create the story of us. So as we pause here, just continue with that breath that you chose and just imagine that you're just kind of watching this movie. But again, it's not one starting point, one ending point. It's just this series of all these strings. And then your eyes settle on this knot and you realize, oh, that was a moment. That was a moment. So just take a few breaths here and just see what you remember. See what you notice. And as we sit with this person of us, this story, these series of events, these strings, these knots, these moments, just notice how you feel as you reflect on a few of them. Some are recent and they are raw and you can still feel them on your body. Some are from a long time ago and maybe you haven't thought about them in a while. But there's a reason why these knots get tied into those strings. Those moments meant something. See them. Notice how you feel as you see them. And then I would encourage us to imagine if the knots that cause us pain and the knots that remind us of something hard and challenging, if the knots remind us of a heartbreak or a dark moment, what would happen if in our mind, in the fiber of our being, we begin to untie those knots? The memories don't leave. The story doesn't change. But this practice begins to help us find a way to loosen the knot a little bit. Yes, it happened. Yes, we experienced it. But don't we want to have these strings in our life just flowing, moving, being? Think about what a knot symbolizes. If you have a knot in a shoestring or a knot in something important in a necklace, the first thing you want to do is get it out. And oftentimes, the more you try, the tighter it gets. But what I'd like us to do across the coming days together is use this practice to begin to untie some of those knots. The ones that are holding us back. The ones that feel like we're stuck in a closet with someone and they won't stop screaming. And the pain gets harder again, just like we experienced it the first time. But what if we do something different? We come at these knots with ease. Not with determination, not with this fight to try to unravel them, but we come with ease and with breath and with compassion. And we understand that our story is our story. But we want to let the points of tension go. And so for these next couple of minutes as we sit in the quiet, I'd encourage us each to pick one. I know there's a lot of knots, there's a lot of moments. But let's pick one. One that you feel has been holding you back. One that has maybe caused some patterns of thoughts and some habits and some behaviors that you're ready to move away from. You know, I held on to a lot of knots for a long time. And I kept thinking that I couldn't unravel them until I forgave the people who kind of caused the knots to form in the first place. But what this practice has allowed me to do in just very recent time is to forgive myself. To forgive myself for getting stuck there. My story doesn't change. My challenges don't disappear. But instead of waiting on the strength to forgive these people and these things that happened, I decided to come in with grace and ease and compassion and forgive myself. And what I've noticed very recently is my knots are getting looser and looser and looser. And those people that were part of those events, they don't even know that I'm doing it. They're not acting any different. They're not claiming any ownership or responsibility, and it doesn't matter. Because Svadhyaya tells me that my relationship is with me, not with them. So let's just pick one knot. One point of tension in your story along these strings of your life that you're ready to loosen up just a little bit. And so for these next couple of minutes, we're not going to work on the loosening. We're going to just sit with it. See it. Own it. Recognize that it's there. Understand that it's maybe caused a hindrance as this point of tension in your life and your story. And then as we sit with it for these couple of minutes, maybe the next time we're together, we'll start working on the unraveling just a little bit as we're ready. But first, let's just sit with ourselves. And whatever this point of our story is, be curious about it. See it. Realize it's yours. Invite it to sit right there next to you as you continue to breathe. as we prepare to close our time collectively, we'll take this knot with us as we go. And what I encourage us to do is just continue to sit with it. Don't force it. You know what happens when you try to force the knot out. It just gets tighter. Just be with it. And just know that I don't share these practices with you as someone who figured this out a long, long time ago. I share it because I'm still figuring it out every day. And it truly is just in the last days and weeks that I've begun to sit with these knots. Forgive myself and experience true liberation. And that is my wish for you as well. Let's start with the Svadhyaya, just the study of our story, of our heart, of our knots. And little by little, we'll begin to find a way to loosen the hold that they have on our lives still today. Namaste.